Okay, here we are. I have now completed 8 rows of twining. That's what this technique was that we were doing. And I've come back around to the starting spoke, the one I marked with an S. And I also had to replace another piece of reed, so I used that same thing with the lift up the dog's tail and insert the thermometer. So now I have 2 little pieces sticking up, but again, that is normal for weaving, and we will be removing those before we, at the end when the basket is dry. It's much easier to remove them, and they exist on every single basket, so no, not to worry. One thing I do want to do now is I'm going to use my additional, remember that we had 12 pieces of number 2, excuse me, 1/2 inch flat, and these are the remaining 6 that I have left, and right now I'm going to dip those in the water because our next step is to add those in to increase the size of the base. So you might ask, why are we even doing that? What's the purpose in that? Well, you may have noticed that as we move out along the spokes, that the spaces between the spokes is getting wider, and there becomes a point where it's really too wide. The basket doesn't look nice if the space between the spokes is too wide. So we're going to fill in that space with those 6 extra reed that we have. Now, this time, before I had you find the wrong side of the reed before we wove, this time I'm going to have you look for the wrong side as we weave. And again, mainly what you want to look for is the difference in smoothness. One side is going to be pretty smooth, this one is. The other side's a little bit rougher and has some hairy things on it. I can actually feel the difference. So I have woven with my twining past the starting spoke. I'm going to move this out of the way so you can see it. And before I do the next one, what I'm going to do is I want my wrong side up. So I'm going to put my spoke in over the middle, right between the 2 spokes. You see that? It's just laying there. And I can see how long it needs to be now because I have it, the reference of the other spokes. I'm just adjusting it to make sure it's right in the middle here, and that the ends are equal to the ends of the other spokes as best it can be. And now I'm going to do my usual twining thing. I'm going to take my piece of reed that's on top of the starting spoke and put it behind the new spoke and adjust the new spoke so that it's right in the middle there. And then I'm going to take the reed that's over the new spoke and put it behind the next spoke. And now you might have to tighten. What I have here is one of those little dog's tails. It's right under my spokes. I'm tightening it down so that it's right up next. We like to have the rows right up next to each other as best we can. But now I need to insert another spoke because we've got another big space here. So I'm going to take another one of my 6 and find the smoother side and put it down. This is actually the wrong side up. So, okay, wrong side up, right in the middle between the other spokes, crossing the center. And now I'm going to use this twining reed again and go under the newly inserted spoke. And with the next pass, I'm going to go, it's on top of the newly inserted spoke, so I'm going to go under the next spoke. All right, I'm going to stop here for a minute and kind of show you how I'm weaving this in. Hopefully you can see this a bit better. Now see how I've added, there's a space here. The only row that's showing is my new one. This is my first newly inserted spoke, and this is my second newly inserted spoke. And I have crossed over the old spoke, the one we had before, and now I'm going to need to put another one in. So let me find another one. This one I can kind of see the hairiness a lot better, so that makes it easier. And I'm going to put it right between. Make sure that it's over the middle. Make sure that it's crossing the middle and the center, and that's the same distance as the other spokes. And now, using the one on top, go under the new spoke And then using the one on top of the new spoke, go under the remaining spoke. All right. Now, one thing that's happening here is that my weavers are getting kind of dry. And remember I told you that when the weavers, this very thin reed is kind of fragile. So we really don't want it to get all dried out or it'll start breaking, and we can always replace it like we did before, but this is kind of an awkward spot to try to replace it. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to get some of the water on my fingers. I'm going to wet this reed so that it's not quite so dry, and I don't want it to break. Okay, now, once again, I'm ready to insert another spoke. I've got 3 more to go. I'm going to look for the wrong side, which is this one. And I'm going to put that in there between the old spokes, over the center, in the middle, and use the one on top to go under the new spoke. And then use the one on top of the new spoke to go under the old spoke. Push it down. We need to be close. Hope you can see that. All right, 2 more to go. Pick up 1 more. I'm gonna move this out of the way. Find the wrong side. Put it in between the 2 spokes in the middle. Use the reed weaver that's on top of the old spoke to go under the new spoke. Pull it down, and then use the one on top of the new spoke to go under the old spoke. Pull it down. Okay, 1 more, and then I'll have all spokes in. I will then have 24 spokes to go around. I'm going to wet this one more time. I just don't want this to break. All right, last one. I'm going to find the wrong side and insert it right between the old spokes. Okay, and then the one on top of the old spoke, this is the one on top of the old spoke, goes under the new spoke. And the one on top of the new spoke goes under the old spoke. It's a little tight, I'm gonna have to move that out. Okay, now I have 1 more. Now we've added those 6 spokes, but we've only twined over half of them, only twined over 6 of them. So we have to go all the way around. So I'm gonna keep going. You can see me here. Maybe move this out a little bit so you can look at it from this side. Okay, again, the one on top goes under the next. Keep making sure that your new spokes are right in the middle as well, in the middle of the old spokes. The one on top goes under the next. The one on top of the new spoke goes under the old spoke. Now I have to move this back because it's kind of gotten out of place. This should go right in the middle there. Okay, the one over the old spoke goes under the new spoke. The one on the new spoke goes over the old spoke, or under the old spoke, excuse me. I'm almost all the way around. The one over the old spoke goes under the new spoke. The one over the new spoke goes under the old spoke. Okay, 2 more. I'm just trying to get them laying the right way. Okay, the one over the old spoke goes under the new spoke. The one over the new spoke goes under the old spoke. I have 1 more. The one over the old spoke goes under the new spoke. And the one over the new spoke goes over the old spoke, which completes all of the new spokes. Now, I'm going to stop for a minute so you can see on this basket that every single new spoke has one row because it's new. And the old spokes now have 9 rows because we added a row when we twined in the new spokes. So now it gets easier again. Trust me. We're going to be twining around just like we did before. You know, it doesn't matter which spoke it is now. They're all the same. They're all spokes. They're all old spokes now because we've added all the new ones. So I'm just untangling this. We're going to keep going around. The one on top goes under the next. 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 Oops, didn't make it because it's twisted. I'm untwisting. All right, one on top goes under the next. And again, try to keep pulling these down so that the rows are close together. One on top goes under the next. The one on top. Get under that one. The one on top goes under the next. The one on top goes under the next. One on top goes under the next. The one on top goes under the next. One on top. So now you can see that I'm creating a second row with our new twining. And here's where the measurement that I was talking about before comes in. We're going to keep going with this. You know how to replace the reed now. If you should need to replace a weaver, it's the same technique that you've learned with lift up the dog's tail and insert the thermometer. But what we want to do is we want to twine around the basket until the diameter, the total, or excuse me, I guess it's, yeah, it's the diameter. The diameter is about 8 inches. So you see I've got, it looks like about 1.5 inches, maybe not quite 1.5 inches to go. So I'm going to need to do quite a bit more twining before I get to that point. But I do want to show you at the end of this video, I'm going to go ahead and do the twining, and then I'll pause again and I will show you how to end it, because that's important too. Okay, now I have completed 8 rows on the new spokes. And the way to tell that is it's pretty easy because, again, the new spokes, you can count the number of rounds directly. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to stop here. I could go a little bit more, but I wanted to be able to show you how to end. I have gotten to, and I happen to be running out of reed right at the point where I would end it. So I have gotten to the starting spoke. If we go out here, you can see that that's the one with the S. I don't want to do another pass on it. Let me try to get it so you can see my hands out of the way. I don't want to do another pass around over it because that would then make it have too many rows. So I'm going to end right here. And the way you end is I'm going to pick up this row before. This is a little tricky. You want to make sure that your reed is wet. Make sure, in fact, I'll wet it a little bit more. Again, I'm just going to dip my fingers in the water. If you have a spray bottle, that's another way you can do it. I'm trying to avoid dipping the whole thing in the basin for a minute here, but I'm just going to try to pick up this last row and stick the end of the reed under it. Let's see if I can do that. It's a little tricky, but there we go. Okay. And if you saw, see, I've gotten it through there, and I'm just going to then pull it down tight. And it's just like a tail, like the other one, but it's under that last row. And then this other reed, which is to the left of the last one, the starting spoke. So this is the spoke that is directly to the left. I'm going to stick the other end of the reed that we were twining with under the same spoke, the same row as the starting spoke. So they're both under there. There's the 2 ends, and that ends it.